This is you rest of the day, and as the chief, you always want to be as transparent as you possibly can to provide as much information to the community as you possibly can on events that are affecting us. You know, there's two things that a chief hates to do. He hates to get up and talk at a funeral, and he hates to get up and talk about things that are occurring within his organization, especially when it looks at something that deals with trust and the betrayal of trust. Today, we're just going to give you an overview of the background involving this incident. So, for a little bit of background on Officer Ronnie Neal, he's been a police officer with the Sanford Police Department since January of 2003. He served as an investigator in the Professional Standards Unit. Through his career, he has worked in patrol, investigative, both general and major crimes. As part of our public information office, he was a SWAT officer and a SWORD officer who dealt with sex offenders. Dealing with this case, July of 2024, the City of Sanford Financial Department began to reviewing and reconciling unpaid vendor accounts associated with off-duty details. The accounts date back to 2023. Ronnie Neal was requested at that time to produce invoices and information to the finance department to reconcile these accounts. At that time, the department was not made aware of any of this information other than the fact that during this time, Ronnie Neal was meeting with the finance department to get the invoices reconciled. Fast forward to August of this year, 2025. Police administration was made aware of the unresolved accounts and the continued lack of invoices and documentation. At a meeting that was held between police administration and finance, a plan and a timeline was put in place, tasking Ronnie Neal to provide the needed information to resolve the invoices. October of this year, a follow-up meeting occurred with the finance department and the police department. What we found was some of the accounts had been reconciled, but there were still many of the accounts that had not been reconciled at that time. On November 24th, the finance department met with police administration, and that during an audit of Ronnie Neal's account, the discrepancies were found that they would possibly be criminal matter. A criminal matter would come forward. A criminal investigation began that day. A sergeant was assigned from the criminal investigative unit to begin looking into the information that was provided by the finance department. December 8th through December 9th, evidence was provided to police administration, and Ronnie Neal was placed on administrative leave at that time. December 10th, Ronnie Neal presented his resignation from the police department. December 11th, the resignation was accepted with consultation from the city labor attorney. Between the time of December 11th through the 15th, the case and additional information was discovered, and in consultation with the Seminole County State's Attorney's Office, probable cause was developed to make an arrest on Ronnie Neal. December 16th, with the assistance of the State's Attorney's Office, a warrant was issued and executed in the arrest of Ronnie Neal at his residence within Seminole County. He was also terminated as of yesterday. During the evening hours last night, I had an opportunity to speak with Assistant Special Agent in charge with FDLE, Daniel Warren, and with me today is Special Agent in charge, Felipe Williams from FDLE, who will be assisting us with reconciling and going through the files. This morning, I had an opportunity to speak with Special Agent in charge from the Secret Service, who will also be providing resources and personnel to assist us in making sure that we are looking at everything from bank accounts to business accounts that Ronnie Neal has had contact with. The segment of this case generally goes back from October of 2023 through July of 2024. During that time, Ronnie Neal had placed 79 details from the location that's called the Lofts of Eden, which is here in Sanford. The investigation revealed that the business never had a contract with Officer Neal during this time frame or at this location. The city of Sanford had paid Ronnie Neal through payroll based on his timesheets with regards to doing off-duty details at the gardens, I'm sorry, at the loss of Edens. Um, I can't tell you how pissed off I am. Betrayal. 2013, I took over this job. My goal was to develop relationships, partnerships, rebuild trust in this organization and trust in this community. Someone who has been a trusted employee betrayed that trust. We all know that trust is extremely fragile. And it's even more so when you're trying to rebuild something after something has occurred. He chose day in and day out to lie, cheat, and steal from this community. He took an oath to serve and protect. He used his badge. If you can't tell that I'm pissed, he used his badge and tarnished the trust that we have garnered and gained and worked so hard for within this community. I want to speak to my officers. We will continue to build the trust in this community, regardless of what this individual did. He chose to step outside the boundaries of his responsibilities to engage in something that is deceitful, to betray the trust not only of each of you, but to betray the trust of our community. A guiding force that we had talked about day in, day out, in our mission statements, in everything that we have tried to do in this organization over years. But I want our community to know as well is that we're going to do everything we possibly can to continue and remain trustworthy to you, to work with you to ensure that something of this nature doesn't happen again. We have put things into place where we have removed all of our detailed information to the finance department, other than assigning officers to it, so that such situations like this doesn't occur. I just can't tell you how pissed off I am to be betrayed by someone who sits at the hand of the chief in a position of the greatest trust in our organization, and he betrayed not only me personally, professionally, but betrayed the men and women who wear the badge and represent this community. I'm going to have Special Agent in charge Williams come up and offer some information, and then I'll come back up for any questions that you may have.
Good morning. Just real quick. Special in charge Felipe Williams with FDLE. I want to thank Chief Smith for his transparency and taking swift action as well. FDLE has been made aware through the chief action that they have a criminal investigation involved. With our resources, with our assets, we're committed to assisting the chief on this journey here, along with whatever partners that's going to assist as well. So FDLE is currently reviewing the case for additional charges. This is an active and ongoing investigation, and we cannot comment any further at this time. But our findings will be turned over to the chief and also the state attorney's office for the additional charges. Thank you.
What's your first and last name? I'm sorry.
Felipe Williams.
Can we just have to spell it, please?
Sorry about that. Felipe and last name Williams with the S, ending with S. Thank you.
I'll take any questions that you have.
Chief, can you talk about how much money we're talking about that you know of so far?
It's still undetermined. We have a dollar figure, but we really don't know what the actual full amount is going to be until the investigation is completed.
Chief, in a
Chief, I think
ballpark
the
sense, though, is it should know a general number, if you're being
I'm,
straightforward?
I'm going to be as straightforward with you as I possibly can. We are still collecting the data. What I don't want to give you is a number and then have to come back and give you a number again. I will tell you that is in a substantial amount.
And Chief, why was no one checking his time card? Whose job is that?
Well, the interesting part of that is one of the circumstances. Am I allowed to go in that direction? That's still part of the investigation. What I will tell you is that uh, the circumstances surrounding him and how that occurred has all been corrected.
And considering that he was coordinating the off-duty hours program, is there any suggestion that any other officers were also using this?
At this point, with the information that we have, there are no other officers who are under investigation pertaining to this.
And whose money is this? Is this taxpayer dollars?
That's correct. These are funds because when the information is put onto, I'll give you a general breakdown. What his responsibilities were is to meet with vendors. Once he met with the vendors, depending on what the circumstances were, he would give them whatever the overtime or detail rate was. He would establish those accounts. He was responsible for, once the office, assigning officers to go out and do the work. Once that was completed, he would submit an invoice to the vendor. The vendors would make the payment. The payment would be invoiced again and identified through our power details. And then from there, all of the information, the invoices and the invoices and checks would go to the finance department, and the finance department would rectify that in the accounts. So the officers get paid from the information that they put onto their timesheets. And so each officer is required to put that information on there. And what we found again was he fabricated this location of Loss of Eden, which is a location in town, and fabricated the detail. Some people may ask the question, why do you know that, Chief? We didn't know it because he was the one who was responsible for it. When his timesheets did come in, those timesheets essentially are put through the system. The information is put into the files, and then finance makes the payments from that point to the officers who were there.
So
So in a
eventually,
nutshell,
the city would have, so if it was a real account, the city would have eventually been reimbursed by the
Correct.
company he was working for. But that
Correct.
didn't happen because he made up that account.
Yes, sir.
Is he the sole player in this, or do we have insight to any other?
As it stands right now, he is the sole player in this because, again, as I indicated, he is the primary person responsible for working with the vendors, developing the process for getting the officers there, receiving the checks, doing the invoices, sending the information over to finance, and then finance would rectify or reconcile once the information was provided to them.
He was here just under 23 years, so this was in just a narrow time frame of his time here. Will you guys go back to his entire tenure to look for problems?
Well, that is why we've asked for our assistance for FDLE and Secret Service to provide us some additional support. We don't have the facilities to actually go back and do that, which is the great thing about having the partnerships not only throughout the state, but with our federal agencies that are out there who, within a phone call last night, again, Felipe and I were on the telephone last night together at 10:30 at night. And this morning, I'm on the phone call with Carol Busto from the Secret Service this morning, all offering assistance to make sure that we can get all the information out and that the state's attorney has the opportunity and have all of the things they need to prosecute this case.
you know, I'm chief with Ronnie a couple of times in the past when he was your-
PIO.
PIO, exactly.
Yeah.
And nicest guy on the planet. And I know you worked with him personally, like right-hand man. Was there anything going on in his personal life? Was there a money issue there? Like, why?
I will tell you directly, I have absolutely no idea who Ronnie Neal is.
So
we found out some stuff, but we can't get into it because it's part of the case that I don't know who Ronnie Neal is.
I know you said you can't say an exact figure, but do we at least five figures, more, six figures, to where you could at least say it's at least five figures, we believe?
It's at least five figures.
Chief, during his tenure here, can you go through just the myriad of different positions that he held? I know he was PIO for a while.
He worked in patrol. He was an investigator in general crimes. He was an investigator in major crimes. He worked in the public information officer. He was in professional standards. He was a SWAT operator. He also was a CVSA, which is our lie detector guy. Imagine that shit. Sorry.
Now, with that being said, does that make you question this lapse in judgment, let's say? Does that make you question any of his other positions and the outcome of those positions?
Honestly, he had worked in professional standards pretty much for my tenure here as chief. We have no issues at this point or concerns with any of his prior assignments or information that's there. When we start looking at this right now, there is kind of a narrow window of time frame where we believe all of these things were taking place. And essentially, none of those things were prior to him going into his present position.
Is it fair to say that all 79 were with the same?
Yes, all 79 were with the same location. That's the loss of Eaton.
Chief, and moving forward, what would you say to the public as far as assuring a matter like this won't happen again?
You know,
Anybody else?
I will tell you this, is that we will work diligently to ensure that something like this never happens again. We have put mechanisms in place now, and I'll tell you, it's kind of a unique situation where he was at, where he had so much autonomy in that location. Ultimately, because he had that autonomy was because he was in professional standards. And so that is one of the most trusted positions within the organization. And so, you know, when you talk about the idea of questioning the integrity of the people who are looking at the integrity of other individuals in the organization, you don't see it. And as you alluded to, the nicest guy, always cordial, you would have never suspected anything of this nature happening with him.
Chief, have you spoken to him?
I have not spoken to him. I've spoken to him once, and that was when I placed him on administrative leave. I have not asked him any questions so that there would be no concern with regards to the integrity of the investigation of the case. Again, the last thing I want to do is inject myself into this investigation until the entire investigation is run its course.
To be clear, did he resign or was he fired?
He resigned, and I terminated him last night. So we accepted his resignation, but due to the circumstances and the additional information that came forward, he was terminated.
Does that mean he'd still be, because he resigned, still entitled to?
That's going to be something between him, HR, and the pension board.
So
Is
is
it
it
surprising
surprising,
that
79
Sergeant-
incidents, is it surprising that it wasn't caught sooner? I mean, it's a big number. I know it's only one vendor, but it's a big number. If I'm watching from home, I'm like, man, there needs to be some more oversight there.
Well, there is more oversight now. As I explained just a moment ago, because of his position within the organization, few people would have even thought of something of this nature occurring. When finance in 2024 started to look into it, they were the primary people who were there. We in the department did not have the complete access to that information. When finance began to look at it, they did not inform us until a year later of what their findings were. And once that occurred, finance asked us for permission to look into or have access to what's called our Power Details program. At that point, I said absolutely yes. I was sitting with the finance director. It's like, listen, I've got nothing to hide. If there's something there, you go ahead and look at it. But you have complete access to all of our details. Anything you need to look at, if you want to look at it now or go back, you have that opportunity. At that time, there was no concern about there being any criminal matters. There was nothing that was brought to our attention in August of this year, indicating that it would be a criminal matter. It wasn't until November of this year when they brought the information and put it before us and said, this is what we have, and we think there's a criminal situation that's going on. Again, that happened on November 24th, and on November 24th is when we started the investigation.
Chief, who was in charge of going over his timesheet, and will that person be recommended?
We're discussing that within the department as well.
With all of his accommodations going through, SWAT, Bright Star, and all this other stuff, there has to be a reason why a 23-year veteran would put retirement, the job, the badge at jeopardy. Is there anything you can say about
That is a great question, and our investigators are still trying to determine that. Once he is released from custody and they continue that investigation, we'll try to ascertain that through interviews.
So
I know
he-
originally,
he-
I know
sorry.
originally, you have FDLE and Secret Service involved now, but originally you called upon a sergeant of your own department to investigate him. Is
Mhm.
that policy, is that normal, or were you just reacting?
No, what we wanted to do initially is make sure what we truly had and have that ability to look at all of that information. What I wanted to do was move quickly and as smoothly as we possibly could. Because if I was going to give it to FDLE, they would have to sign someone, they have to come in and take a look at all this stuff. Look, I'm going to tell you straightforward. The investigator who did this was given this within a week and a half time frame and put together all of the charges, went through and identified numerous things that even the finance department hadn't found by going through and looking at stuff. So once that supervisor had all of the information and working with the state's attorney's office, was completely prepared to move through. Again, working with the state's attorney's office on how we would draft the warrant to ensure that they were going to be prepared to prosecute this case. And I'm going to be very clear with a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize is that for us, especially on the law enforcement side, you want to be as clear and as accurate as you can possibly be. Because the last thing we want to do is have this case thrown out on technicalities. And we wanted to make sure that we had the state's attorney's office in the room with us while we were conducting this investigation and assisting us in leading it. Again, the primary purpose for me reaching out at 10 o'clock last night and talking to the SAC, and then again this morning talking to Secret Service, one, talks about our transparency and the things that I want our community to understand is that I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to have it. And you're not going to come back and say that we're going to hide anything or put anything or shove anything away. So to answer your question, it was important for me to have somebody in-house right away looking at the stuff because anything and everything we have is going to be turned over to them to review as well because it's not just the charges that's here. His certification is at stake as well so that he will never be another police officer again anywhere, especially here in the state of Florida.
Chief Smith, one last question. Is there anything else coming out of the finance department, either anything that they have raised or anything that your team is looking at about how the finance department effectively operates that you can't comment on yet, but things are in the works?
They are in the process of reviewing their policies and procedures as well. Again, we have a couple of meetings that's set up with them, FDLE and Secret Service, hopefully sometime this week, so that they can collaborate on the things that they are going to look at going forward and having a backwards look at all of the things that may have happened in the past as well.
Just a clarification. So, Eden
Loss of Eden.
Loss of Eden.
Is it a
It's
Apartment complex.
so it's a real place.
Oh, yeah, it's a real place.
The vendor's real.
The vendor's
The
real.
Jobs. he
Correct.
said okay.
You got it.
So you've done other jobs. I mean, you have other.
We have other
you work
officers
for.
who are courtesy officers. He was a courtesy officer at the location, but he was a non-paid, non-overtime courtesy officer at that location, outside of his normal pay here with the police department.
One last question?
Now, on a personal note, you've had a really difficult time in your tenure here, rebuilding the reputation of the Sanford Police Department. What would you like the community to know, just moving forward?
Well, moving forward, we were going to continue to do what we do to be as transparent as we can be, provide the best service that we possibly can, to be in the community, actively engaging the community, being a part of the community, holding conversations. the easy ones and the hard ones. Uh, I took this job almost 13 years ago on the premise that we would be as transparent as we possibly could when circumstances and things occur. To make sure that we put information out there. If you look at any of our social media, we put stuff out there all the time, good, bad, and in this case, really ugly. We made sure that in this particular case, as we went down the lines with the information, that we put it out as quickly as we could. We brought in partners from outside to assist us. We actively engaged with our finance department, our human resource department, the city manager, ensuring that all of these things have been put in place to make sure that our community understands is that we will do our best to make sure that we are transparent, that we're going to investigate the cases that are brought before us, whether it's our people or someone else that's in the community, and that um, we will we'll get through this. And as we have created these relationships in the community, I know that many people, because I've gotten emails and texts all night, didn't get much sleep, from people from Chicago to California who are friends, uh, who support us. And I know our community will continue to stand with us while we go through this situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks. All right.